Sean Meyer with Municipal World, here with our latest guest, Mark. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Thank you, Sean. I'm Mark DeVolder. I'm a professional speaker who specializes in the area of change management. Specifically, within change management, I'm a transition specialist. So I help organizations that are going from where they are now to where they need to be during the cycle of change.
And although in your session today you were sort of pointed to avoid the pandemic, I'm going to take you right back to the pandemic and assume that you've been ever so slightly in need the last few years.
Absolutely, yeah. Being a change specialist, basically I have a job whatever is happening, because when times are good, it's change.
Yeah.
When it's bad, it's also change. So, but what's happened, of course, during the pandemic was the largest disruption that anyone has ever experienced, and it happened around the world. So, yeah, I was privileged to work with a number of top organizations around the world that were all trying to process, what does this mean, and how do we go from where we are now to where we are going to end up?
As somewhat of a professional at this, how did you do it?
Well,
because I'm guessing you spent a lot of your time interacting with humans, speaking at public event, and all that went away.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been easy for you.
Yeah, I mean, as a change management specialist, I'd better be able to change myself. Right. If I teach it, I also have to do it. And so the big change for me was I had to go from in-person events to standing behind a camera.
Sure.
And so I had to become technician as well as speaker, as well as all the other aspects that none of us knew about before we started having Zoom meetings. But I've always found, because everyone was involved to some degree in Zoom meetings around the world, everyone was forgiving because they know how difficult it actually is to do. And so when there's a glitch, when the power goes out, when the camera turns off, when you can't turn the camera on and on it goes.
When your kids walk into the shot.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
That was a classic. I think that almost every Zoom conference seemed to have had that moment.
Yeah, we all have stories that we can't talk about.
That's very true. You were here speaking to an audience of HR professionals here at the Western Cities HR Conference. So speaking with those folks, kind of be your people, if we will. What was that experience like? Because they kind of know what you're there talking about.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with many different HR groups around the world. I spoke with the Estonian HR Association, I'm blanking on the name, but it's the largest Arabic organization, and that was in Dubai.
Oh yeah.
And so here in Kelowna, working with Canadians from Western Canada and even further. This was a great audience. I really enjoyed them. They, as you saw, there was, I think, I don't know the exact percentage, but a large number of women. And what I really enjoyed from this group is just how engaged they were.
Oh.
If I gave a suggestion, they ran with it.
They did.
Yeah, so they had lots of great interaction, which makes it easier for me as a presenter.
Easier, more enjoyable?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I've had some audiences where I've told a joke and I've had to look to see like if the microphone's on, but each group is very different.
Sure.
But yeah, as I said, they were very responsive, and I can't say enough about them.
Western Cities is this is their first in-person conference post-pandemic, if you will.
Yeah.
You've experienced these sessions virtually and in person. Not to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing there's a lot to be gained by being back in person. What's the difference between the virtual and the real world and what you can teach?
Yeah. Well, from the standpoint of what's easiest, and even when I did some virtual presentations, I could literally do 3 in a day.
Oh,
So I could make more money in a sense doing virtual presentations,
thought
and
of that, yeah.
I don't have to travel.
Mhm.
So that is really easy. Not as much fun.
Right.
Not as much fun at all. I love to be on stage. I love to be in person, meeting people, and it's a special skill to be able to connect with somebody
Absolutely.
virtually. Last month I did a presentation with Schwab, 11,000 attendees.
Oh my.
But I would have known the difference because I'm just looking at a camera
That's
and
true.
I can't see who's out there.
Right.
So that's easy, but as I think you pointed out, Sean, it's just not as enjoyable.
Mhm.
To be on stage, to feel the energy, and as you saw in my presentations, I interact.
Mhm.
I get down with the audience, and I have some different interactive elements, and that's fun. You can't do that in the same way virtually.
Why is it, if you just look at it as a person thing, we do seem to need connection, physical, being in a room with somebody.
Yeah.
Why is it so different between virtual and real world?
Because I think even though the material is the same,
Mhm.
the skill set is different. So it's almost, I remember the first time I spoke to an audience of, a live audience of,
Mhm.
with 1,500, and I was coached very well on this, and they said, you need to make eye contact, but of course you can't make eye contact with 1,500 people.
Right.
So the main camera that you're going to be looking into is the one directly in front. So spend most of your time looking at the camera as opposed to trying to look around the room
Mhm.
because people can't see you. There's too many people like that.
Right.
So they said, in essence, think of yourself, as a TV star looking into the camera and hearing the audience, the audience applause
Sure.
in the background. But so that's a different skill set. And so for someone who can't generate some excitement, enthusiasm, looking at a camera, they're not going to do well virtually.
Right.
So that's the one skill set. And live, well, yeah, it's exciting being able to see people, talk with people, be there with them.
You can't hand out Swiss chocolates when you're online either. So.
There we go. That's right.
The Municipal World has a municipal audience. Local government has been through a lot of change on the dime. This pivoted from the moment because people's garbage needed to be collected, their water needed to work, all that stuff. So they are, I'm sure, embraced your idea of change that you presented in your session. But if you had advice for the municipal sector, what do you tell local governments in terms of how to roll with it?
Well, there seems to be in the past there's been a difference between municipal type of government work and say the other side, the business world.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the pressures are the same. Maybe municipal government isn't looking to turn a buck in the same way as maybe in the business world. They're just as interested in providing high quality services, supporting their people, this kind of thing, which is all about change.
Mhm.
We're all going through change. And just yesterday I spoke to in Saskatchewan to the Crown executives,
Oh, yes.
and I saw the same kind of dynamic there. They wanted to give high quality work, product. They wanted to serve the communities that they're serving, and the same with the group here today. So that's all about change, being able to adapt to whatever we see. And I think, as you saw from the list of just, I think 7, 8 different change initiatives, change challenges. This group has a lot of change that they're trying to juggle, they're trying to adapt to. So they're not alone. Most groups still have many challenges, but they have a lot that they're dealing with.
It would be very difficult to boil down your presentation to the one thing I'm going to ask you for, but to just help our listeners understand change, how to adapt to it, give them one piece of advice.
I think probably if I could say this about change, that what people often fear about change is the unpredictability of change, the uncertainty. What I talked with people today, I talked to them about empowered change, which empowered change walks people through a 3-stage process of how to actually navigate through change. And what I hear from people all the time after my presentation is they say, I never knew that there were actual stages. I didn't know that there were things that were predictable. I didn't know that there was work that we could do that enables us to go from this stage to the next stage. So in essence, what they're saying is, I now understand a little bit more how change works. I understand more about transitions. And now I know how to be more successful with literally every change that I go through. So that kind of insight, I think, is really important for the individual and for organizations. And I love to hear that, because that's my goal, is helping people to navigate the transitions and to be successful.
So just be aware that there's a path.
There is a path, yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing that path with MW Shares, all our listeners, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.